Welcome to Invest in Women, the podcast series, your insight into the growing wealth of women and the issues that impact their business and yours. See what happens when you educate, empower, and invest in women.
Let's face it, retirement planning can be confusing. At Jackson, we're working to make retirement clear for everyone, starting with you. Our easy-to-understand resources and user-friendly digital tools help simplify your entire experience. You can have confidence in your retirement with clarity from Jackson. Seek the clarity you deserve at jackson.com. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York. Tina Powell joins us now on the podcast. Tina, thank you so much. I mean, there's so many accolades that I could say beneath your name. What is the most important thing you want me to highlight about you?
That I'm a survivor. I think that I'm still living, breathing, and walking on this earth. I think there's, the last couple of years or the last 18 months specifically have really transformed my life. So I think that's the most important thing right now. I'm so honored to be here, Melissa, and I'm honored to just continue my own work and my own evolution here in the industry. I feel very grateful.
Well, I myself I have a chronic illness. I'm a kidney transplant recipient. So I come from a perspective of understanding when there's a health issue, it kind of brings everything else into perspective. And that's why I asked you, as a lung cancer survivor, I assumed that would be your answer, because somehow when you go through a health crisis, it does seem to change the way you look at everything, right?
Yeah, it definitely changes your priority. And there are a couple of ways of looking at it, Melissa, and the way that I looked at it and the way that I continue to look at it is, and thank you, by the way, for sharing your own story. That's admirable. So glad that you're doing well as well. And that is that cancer doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And it really helps to put life in perspective and really shines a light on your priorities, as well as what you want your life and you want your impact to stand for. So I was always a person of, faith, impact, positivity, but it's really been put to the test over the last 18 months. So again, I'm just grateful for my first of all, my family here at Intentionally. My partner, Kelly Waltrich, founder of Intentionally, has been so supportive. Nearly 3 months after she bought my agency, C-Suite Social Media, is when I had the diagnosis. So you can imagine, like, the first 3 months, and then we just totally pivoted, and we were in a different space and time. So I'm just really thankful to her to be able to have, really gone through a lot there, and to, finally be out on the other side of it.
I want to talk about Intentionally here in a moment, but you mentioned about C-Suite Social Media, and you were a podcaster, so you're a seasoned professional at this, and talked with a lot of women leaders, in wealth management and top business leaders. So this area that we're talking about when it comes to women in finance is something that's important to you and something that you've really tried to encourage yourself.
Yeah, and part of that again is the concepts and the themes, Melissa, that we're naturally drawn to usually are tethered to some moment in our life, something that's happened that's shaped us along the way. For me, I was raised in a single parent household where my mother was the sole breadwinner and where she was also too the sole provider. And, I watched her, number one, she's the oldest of nine children. I watched her go through a divorce, get educated, first get an associate's, then go for a bachelor's, and then eventually making a career as she worked for an accountant for 12 years, and she started her own bookkeeping business. So I saw how the power of education was transformative. And especially, I think it's so important for women to be in financial services, to not necessarily to be employed there, but to understand their money, to understand how to make great decisions, to understand, how you're going to create your future. And my mother went from being, a struggling divorcee with 2 kids and no education, to getting a college degree, starting her own business, creating a retirement fund. And now she is, she's happily retired. And I think that's even on her LinkedIn. She's happily retired, and she volunteers her time as a docent at various theaters. She's in a poetry class. So, if my mother, Melissa, didn't have an inkling or knowledge about her own finances, the woman that she is today would not be possible. And you don't need a divorce, you don't need a serious illness in order for women to take charge of their own financial life and stewardship. You don't need to know all the answers, but you need to have I would say, a level of curiosity and a wish for your own self to go from point A to point B. And again, my mother received a lot of help getting there. Those early jobs and those early connections, people that she met really had a transformative effect on her life. So I also think one of the other things is community colleges are very, very underrated. I would say that, when it comes to the workforce, nobody cares about really where your degree is from. Just make sure that you build a solid foundation and a plan for your life.
I think that's a great point to make about community colleges. That is absolutely correct. And serving their purpose, obviously, with your mother and her survival skills, which obviously you have as well. I've had a conversation with somebody just the other day, and I said, a husband is not a retirement plan. That even today, I see women who still think that, hey, as long as I'm, married and he can take care of the finances, then everything is put in place. So I think, and I'm hoping that more women who get educated in finance and work in finance will inspire these women to do exactly what you're saying and be self-sufficient and be intentional with their own money.
Yeah, I mean, that describes me with my first husband, is that I was clueless, absolutely clueless when it came to my own and our own finances. I was like, okay, that's his department. I'll raise the kids. I've got a daughter and a son. And so my responsibility was basically, taking care of the kids while he worked. And he had a job that also too that took him on international trips where he would be gone at weeks at a time. So, I understand women's plea, and that is that it's very hard to manage all things, right? Taking care of kids can be a full-time job. But it wasn't until that later in life when I needed to really understand. And it was an awakening of sorts, Melissa, and it's been so beneficial to my life. Thank God. Thank God that I did it. And I have dear friends, best friends, who also too have their, financial plan. Their husbands are fantastic. They earn a great living. And, I worry about that. And I know that there could be more that, we as women need to step up to the plate. And I feel more financial advisors, more firms are more welcoming to women. And no question, if you're with the right advisor, Melissa, then no question that you ask is a stupid one. I think,
Right.
Early on in my career, even in financial services, I came here, I made a full immersion in 2006. And I was very insecure. I knew marketing backwards and forwards and digital. I have a master's from NYU. I taught in the graduate program. I have a bachelor's in business. Like there was one part of me that felt super, super smart and empowered. And then the other part of me, I was like, Tina, you are clueless. Get with the program. So coming here to financial services and getting that like first chance. And then I went on for a Series 65 license. I became naturally curious. I mean, that changed the trajectory of my life. And so many women that I hope that are listening to this broadcast, you can start those conversations. You don't go from 0 to 100 in one night. For me, it's taken, oh wow, it's taken the span of almost 20 years to get to where I am today. And it's a little bit at a time, a little bit, at least start to go to meetings, start to look at statements, understand and know how, know where your money is, know how to look at it.
Right. Well, and it builds confidence slowly as you do that, right? Because what you don't know is what's intimidating, but once you get familiar with it, then it becomes more controllable, right?
Yeah, and part of my other reason, Melissa, again, it goes back to my own, selfishly my own goals. My mother being a single parent, I'm the oldest of two kids, and I know that predominantly her care is on me. We live 20 minutes apart. And what I see happening to seniors especially is I see that they're being constantly taken advantage of, right? There's more fraud. Even my aunt, who's a very smart woman, she's an attorney. Somehow she got looped into like an Amazon scheme where exactly on her cell phone, hey, this Amazon order. So there's so much stuff, there's so many things that women need to watch out for. And I wanted to be able to be in a position of strength and understanding my mother's personal finances. So again, I know that her financial advisor is not taking advantage of her. And while we want to believe that 100% of the world and of this profession, occasionally bad things happen to really great people. And I wanted to be able to really truly understand her own financial position so that as a steward of her retirement, her wealth, her estate planning, that I knew exactly what was happening. Sure, I could bring my own financial advisor to that conversation as well, but I myself wanted to be in that power seat and to understand fully what was happening around those decisions.
Yeah, Tina, you're ahead of the game on so many people because, the sandwich generation, as they call it, where they have to take care of children as well as their parents, and you're already aware of what the future might hold and planning for it. And I commend you for that. And let's talk about intentionally now, because not only are you trying to take control of your life and your finances and helping everybody in your life, you want to help other women as well.
Yeah, and thanks for asking. We are a growth marketing consultancy. We were founded by Kelly Waltrich, who spent the last 10 years of her career at Orion and eMoney. I come from the wealth management side, so I spent almost 8 years in a wealth management firm. We positioned that firm for mergers and acquisitions. Afterwards, I had a little tiny pot of gold. Kelly too, she started the agency about, I came in about 18 months into the Intentionally's evolution. And, we're both, as female entrepreneurs, we both have the same wish. And that is that by empowering the clients that we work with, so we work with only in financial services, we represent almost 60 brands in financial services, financial advisors, registered investment advisors, hybrid RIAs, fintechs, consultants, event organizers. By doing that, Melissa, I use a term called the Oprah effect. By helping our client, we help their end client. And a lot of those are, yes, I love men, I love guys. This is not at the expense of our male allies, but this is helping to give women more opportunity, more share of voice, even more share of wallet, which is why I've started In the Sweet podcast. So by empowering those brands and giving them the go-to-market strategies, creating their plan, executing their plan, there's a trickle down effect to all of the clients that they serve and even the women working within those organizations. It's interesting. We have a VIP visit going right now in our offices, and there's 3 women and there's one man right now sitting at that table. And that is a perfect case study around exactly what we're trying to do here. Empower the team, empower the company, empower the brand so that they can empower their end client.
Tina, it's such a delight to talk to you. But, before we go, Financial Advisor magazine obviously serves financial advisors. And what advice do you give them who are listening on how they can help their female clients?
It's a great question. There are so many. We could record just another
I know.
couple hours.
We can
Just a
talk all
couple
day,
of hours
Tina.
on that. I would say that right now it's to throw them a lifeline of sorts. It's not enough to say that, yes, could you bring your wife in? Could you bring your significant other in? Could you bring your partner in? Really, that advisor has to establish a first degree connection with that female first. And that's a relationship, Melissa, that you and I know, as certainly a financial advisor. You magazine, you guys have been ahead of the curve on this. Look, next year is going to be our Invest in Women, the 10th anniversary of Invest in Women. I said to Evan when I saw him at the last Invest in Women, I thanked him. Thank you for giving us a voice. It's through a financial advisor's actions. Are you reaching out? Send a personal note, send an email, get on the phone, create multiple touch points that connect deeply with that female. It's going to take, in some cases, and you and I know this, Melissa, years to establish that trust. But once you do, I promise it takes many years to earn, but you will have it for life. That's my advice.
Tina Powell, it has been such a pleasure. And like I said, I could talk to you all day. What if someone wanted to reach out to you personally and say, "Hey, I'd love to learn more about what you do and talk to you about something"? How can they reach out to you?
First, I would love us to connect on LinkedIn, and you can send me a connection request there. And secondly, my email is tina@growintentionally. It's spelled as it sounds, tina@growintentionally. I love to have conversations with advisors. I feel that they are doing just amazing work. It's been so captivating to see the evolution of our own industry. So, both from being a female entrepreneur to having my own financial plan to, be in that sandwich generation, I feel like I have a lot to offer to that discussion. So I really commend FA Magazine and our financial advisors who are listening, who continue to do the hard work and put time and effort into those relationships and cultivating a great business.
Tina, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in your ventures. I'm so glad that we're able to highlight who you are and what you've done.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Truly, truly an honor. And you keep up the great work that you're doing. I really enjoy this podcast and the opportunity to share my story, in hopes that it makes an impact.
Thank you for listening to Invest in Women, the podcast series. Your insight into the growing wealth of women and how to attract and retain your female clients and help scale your practice. Learn more by subscribing to this podcast or visiting fa-mag.com.